Okay, welcome everyone. This is the first podcast, what we hope to be a series of podcasts, trying to help small businesses or small business owners and small business marketers to get the most out of their marketing and their content marketing. Today we're going to be starting broad. We're going to be looking at the basics of marketing. Today's topic is marketing essentials. I have to look down to know that. Marketing essentials, how small businesses can leverage marketing for growth. So yeah, if you're a small business owner or you're looking to get into that space or you're a marketer, stay tuned. Hopefully there'll be some interesting information here for you to pull out. Joining me today in the studio, I have the lovely Amanda. How are you going?
Hi, Jimmy. How are you going?
Good, thanks. I'll give you a quick intro. You are a certified and practicing marketer with experience across multiple brands, including Master Foods, Helga's, Uncle Ben's, Sunrise, Weight Watchers, Dorf, and I'm going to say it wrong again, Lancôme.
Very good.
Yeah, better?
Very good.
Okay.
Oui.
Took me a while to get that one. Okay, so in 2021, you founded Pencilbox Marketing, which is a full-service marketing agency based on the Northern Beaches. And Pencilbox's goal, which I love, is to champion fairness. So sharing big end-of-town marketing know-how to empower SMEs to step up and do the right type of marketing.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here today. And it being your first podcast, I'm privileged.
Well, we'll see how we go. Hopefully not the first and last. We'll see how, so far, it's feeling good. It's feeling good. Okay, so we're going to kick off and I'm going to get you to I'm going to ask you your favorite saying.
Oh, well, I think my very favorite saying is progress is more important than perfection. And particularly as someone who's had her own startup, where it's easy to get caught in the world of being a perfectionist and then nothing happens. And so it's better to do stuff and progress forward than holding yourself back. So for me, this is definitely one of my big mantras.
Yeah, perfect. It's funny to think I have two favorite sayings. One is, why can't you put the bunny back in the box? It's Nicolas Cage Connor for any fans out there. But the second one is, done is better than perfect. But I might change my saying because I think in marketing, nothing's ever done, nothing's concrete. It always changes and evolves. So progress is a nice way of changing that up.
It is.
But maybe we can workshop some new great sayings along the way today.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, let's kick off. So a big question to start with.
Yeah.
Marketing.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, when I get asked this question, and I think the most basic answer would be marketing equals eyeballs. And what I mean by that is that the reason we all market what we sell, whether it's a product or a service, is because we're trying to make as many people aware of what it is that we're selling, hence the eyeballs. So brands that we know and love, big brands like Woolworths, Nike, McDonald's, those brands have mass awareness. So pretty much every Aussie would know what those brands are. And those brands have been around for ages. So they've had a lot of time to grow the eyeballs as such, to grow their awareness. But they've spent a lot of money in growing that awareness over time as well through advertising. But when we start out thinking about marketing as eyeballs, and what are those few things you can do to start getting word out there about what it is that you're selling, that's a really good way to filter down and decide what it is you should do in the land of marketing. Eyeballs.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get, caught up in the activity of marketing, but it's nice to take a step back and actually think in simple terms, where do you start? Get those eyeballs, get that awareness.
Well, I think it's a really good way to, I suppose, use it as a lens as you start working out which marketing tools you want to use, because it's easy to do marketing that you like, that is your favorite, that you feel is fun, but is that the right marketing that will actually attract the eyeballs and grow the awareness of your brand or your business? It might not be. So it's a great lens to use to make sure that what you are doing is always growing that brand awareness.
And sometimes you might be comfortable with one type of marketing, you might be experienced in that, so you might naturally draw to that. But is that for the product, the service, the brand, is that the right choice? Maybe not in some cases. So you have to really, consider that in those eyeballs. What's going to get you the right eyeballs, I guess?
Well, it is about the right eyeballs and then about target audience. So lots of small business owners I've chatted with feel familiar with Instagram and Facebook, for example, because they use that as a personal level. So therefore, they then will start using that for their business. But Is it fit for the target audience? Is it where the target audience is? Is it the right platform to place the messaging you're wanting to place? Will it be perceived and received the right way? So it's easy to go with the familiar space. I think it's something that we always do. But again, apply the lens. Are these the right things that I could be doing to grow my brand or my business awareness?
I think we'll chat more on that a little bit later and go into a bit more detail.
Yeah.
But I guess, a good takeaway point from here is, start off about awareness. And also, it's about maintaining awareness as well. Those bigger brands, they have such a great awareness now, it's probably hard for them to lose that awareness.
Well, you'd be surprised. Yeah. You'd be surprised. So there is a reason why with big brands you tend to see them on TV or wherever it is you're exposed to the advertising, whether it's online or through traditional media. And that is because memories are fragile. So unless we are constantly reminded about the existence of that brand or that business, the service, the product, we'll forget. We get busy with our day and all of the stresses of life and having a job, etc., that we're not always thinking about that brand. So, for example, if you look at what's happening around Christmas time, when brands start advertising, particularly the grocery retailers, they're staying top of mind so that when you go to do your Christmas shop, you're going to go to that particular retailer because it's the first brand that pops into your mind. And something else I wanted to mention is that it's really important that what you're selling is easy to find and easy to buy. So whether you are a retailer with a physical space or you have an e-commerce store, you're trading through a website, or you are offering a service such as a tradesman, for example, it needs to be really easy for the client to find you, to understand what it is you're selling and to buy from you. If it is complex, they'll move on. And the other thing I wanted to add is that popular brands are thought of by more people across more buying occasions. So I don't know the last time you thought about a brand that you didn't know. It's impossible. You can't think about a brand that you don't know because you don't know they're there, right? So that the brands that are known to us are brands that we will think about more often. And if we receive more marketing messages from those brands with time, so we're constantly aware of them, we are, give or take, more likely to consider or to purchase those brands.
Okay, so that's a nice way to sum up marketing and define it, I guess. But let's move on now and we'll talk about the tools of marketing. So what can we do with marketing?
Goodness me, that is a massive question, Jimmy, because there is so many ways to market today. So once upon a time, for those a little older who are listening, we still do, it's traditional media, traditional marketing. So if you think about outdoor billboards along highways, bus stop advertising, bus advertising, brochures that you might receive in your mailbox, flyers, pamphlets, car decal, merchandise that has branding on it. These are all sort of more in the physical sense, right? They're a physicality, if you like. So they're not online, they're a physical item. Those are traditional ways of marketing. Then you have online marketing, right? And so for a lot of us out there, that's the world that we know and that we thrive in. But it's also a really complex place for marketing as well because there are so many options. It's quite impossible to stay on top of it all. So if we think about blogging, vlogging, social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc., Google Ads, content creation, remarketing, programmatic advertising, search engine optimization, even a BVOD, which stands for Broadcast Video on Demand, like SBS On Demand, so playback TV. All of these are online avenues where brands will market, right? So you've got a massive choice, and all of these items have different price tags. So you can appreciate if you're wanting to market and you're a big brand and you take out a huge billboard along the M5 and it's up there for 2 weeks, that's costing you lots of money.
I might have to stop you there because I'm already feeling a bit overwhelmed. That's a huge list of tools. So do we need all the tools? How do we pick our tools? How do we specialize in tools? Where do we go from there?
Right. I want to use an analogy, Jimmy. So let's pretend you're a plumber, okay? And you've had a call out and you've turned up at a home and you've grabbed your bag out of the car, like your tool bag, and you've gone in to look at what is going on under the kitchen sink. Except when you open up and have a look, you realize that in the tool bag, you bought an axe. You bought equipment that you didn't need to fix what was under the sink, right? So you have the wrong tools in your tool bag. So if we use the same analogy when it comes to marketing, right? Your marketing tool bag is essentially, let's call it your strategy. That is sort of what you're coming to fix, what it is that you need to do. The tools in your marketing tool bag, therefore, are the pieces of marketing, whether they're traditional or online choices, to get the marketing job done. So when the plumber arrives on the job, he knows he's going to need a chisel, he might need his gloves, he might need some new piping, etc. He has the right tools to get the job done. The same applies to marketing. The first part is understanding what it is you're trying to get done in the first place, to then bring the right tools to get the job done, if that makes sense.
Yes, having the tool that fits the purpose. But I also think as well, that it's an overwhelming list, but you don't have to ever, you may not ever need all those tools as a business. Sometimes some may, but if you do, you'd have help. So don't let that scare you off, I think, when you're looking at your tools and working out which ones to use.
Yeah, and I think, like a plumber, there'll be some tools in your tool bag that you use every day.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the same for a business's marketing. So fewer, bigger, better. The few tools that you need to get the job done, and then over time, you might expand your tool bag and put some new tools in there so that you can do a little more.
Yeah. So maybe we'll revisit tools, I think, a little bit later.
Yeah.
Maybe look at some examples of what types of businesses might use certain types of tools and how that might come together. From here, we understand now what marketing is. We know we've got tools. Do we go out straight away? Do we start booking trade shows? Should I be putting out online ads? Is there a step before this, or what happens now?
All right. So we have to start at the beginning.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
a great place to start.
We need to start at the
Always
beginning.
At the start.
The first thing as a business owner, a startup, a one-person business, is you need to understand what it is you're trying to do with your business in the first place. So clarity around your overarching goals and objectives. Because the role of marketing is to contribute to achieving those overarching goals and objectives, right? So if you have defined your overarching goals and objectives as your first step for your business, the second step would be to think about, well, what is my marketing strategy? What is the role of marketing to unlock those goals and objectives? Once you've been able to articulate that, we then move into the third space, which is you then create a marketing plan. So the marketing plan is the how I will achieve that marketing strategy that I know will help me achieve my overarching business goals and objectives, right? So the marketing plan starts getting into the land of the tactical. And then, of course, the fourth part would be your actual tactics. What are the different marketing tools that you want to use in your tool bag that form part of your marketing plan, and therefore tap up to your strategy and tap up to your business's overarching goals and objectives? So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that marketing needs to work synergistically with what you're trying to achieve with your business. The two need to correlate, and marketing needs to serve a predetermined purpose. Otherwise, you might end up wasting money because you're not able to bring in the gross revenue or the net profit that you need to bring into your business to keep it alive and functioning.
And time if you start going off down the wrong track. So
yes, and if you make mistakes, it can be costly because there are not many ways to market these days that are free. Usually you end up paying in some way or another, so you don't want to make mistakes. So it's really important to helicopter up and spend some time thinking about what it is you're trying to do with your business, and therefore what the role of marketing is.
And that's really sort of very wise words. And I think for us as well in content marketing, we love to have a good brief that has all these facts and this information, so we get a real good top overview of what's happening, what the business wants, what the business goal is, what that objective is, and then having that in mind, it influences everything later on down the track. But if you haven't got a clear idea of what that business objective is or what the strategy is, it's you can get quite lost.
Well, you can get lost, but you can also get attracted to the bright and shiny, which completely takes you off tangent.
Yes.
And sometimes that can unearth surprising new opportunities, but most times it takes you off down a new path that you weren't meant to go down. And so it's just always a good plan to think about these things first.
So say that we've gone back, we've looked at our business objectives, we have an understanding of, our goals. Objective setting, let's talk on that first of all. So if we are setting objectives for business and marketing, what do we need to consider when looking at those?
The most important thing is to think about metrics, right? So you can just get going and start selling stuff. That's awesome. But if you don't know what success looks like, then how do you know if you've achieved or if you're progressing the right way? So as a business owner, you need to pay great attention to your P&L, right? And obviously marketing is a line on your P&L. But in terms of the tools and marketing that you're spending money on, you need to have metrics so that you can understand your return on investment. Nobody wants to spend, let's say, $5,000 on a piece of advertising and not being sure whether it worked for them or not. Did it actually get me some new leads? Did I sell more stuff? With the $5,000 that I invested, did I sell $10,000 worth of stuff and therefore I have a really good return? So it's important when we set objectives that we think about simple metrics to help us understand whether what we're doing is working or not working, or if there are ways to optimize later on, particularly for the things that are working.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think, because you can also set yourself a very simple objective, but they're hard to monitor, they're hard to track. So it's looking at, making sure it's measurable, like you said, it's actionable, and give yourself sort of a more clear target as well. So something you can look back on and say you've achieved it.
Well, I think when you're starting out, simple things might be, for example, giving yourself a metric of, I will attend 3 networking meetings every week.
Yeah.
Right? I will, at those networking meetings, meet 10 different people, and I will connect with all of them on LinkedIn or through your socials. Right?
Yeah.
That could be one. Another might be if you have an active marketing sales funnel, if you're in B2B, that you want to, again, you want to go out and let's say once a quarter, you'll have a small stand at an expo or trade show that's relevant to where your target audience is. And from that, at each of those trade shows, you might like to secure 20 new leads. Of which after phone calls and communication and nurturing, maybe 5 of them become really warm leads and 2 of them convert and 1 of them buys something that's worth over 10 grand.
Yeah.
Simple little ways to get started, and you can nip and tuck as you go because we need to just start somewhere. But it's important to have these metrics or goals to keep you really focused so that you do the right work.
Yeah, great. I think it's having that nice cascade as well, where you start off with those business objectives and then anything that comes below that still references that and bears that in mind. So if you are going to the networking events, it's like still having that business objective in mind. Is that going to be the right thing to do to grow that business objective or achieve that business objective?
And if you're networking, you want to be choiceful about where you are going to network because you're wanting to meet either people who could be your clients or customers, or they might be other types of complementary type businesses, let's say, where you could form a collaboration. Or maybe there's an opportunity for you to step up and show your expertise with one of these networking groups by actually being a presenter on a panel. So there are lots of different ways to, I suppose, like we said, attracting eyeballs and growing awareness around your business. But it all comes down to having the right metrics to track to keep you on target, because if you're not fueling the business with leads and paying clients, you might not have a business.
Yes, exactly. Okay, cool. So we spoke then about, looking at the business, understanding the strategy. Are we ready now to go out and start marketing, or is there anything else we need to look at? I'm getting excited.
I know. You're jumping out of your seat, Jimmy. I know. I can feel it. Look, the one thing that I didn't mention was what we would call the why. Why do you do what you do? What is the why for the business? So there are 3 really key questions. And these questions, as a business owner, you need to be able to answer. And may I say it, they might even be on the homepage of your website when they're done right. Question number 1, what do you sell? Right? And how you articulate that in a real easy to understand, intuitive way. Question number 2, what problem do you solve? Right? So if you think about your target audience, What is it that you're selling them? Do they need what you're selling? Do you actually solve a problem for them? Or is it just something, maybe you have something that they need to enhance their lives? But what is it that they need, right? And then the third question is, why should they care? So if I've created a widget and my target audience needs that widget because they're going to sleep better at night, but there's already a whole lot of other competitor widgets out there, why should they care about my new widget? And those are the three key questions that form the proposition around what it is you're trying to do with your business or your brand, who you're trying to sell to, and why they should buy from you. And if you can't formulate that succinctly in a really short paragraph, then you've got to go back to the drawing board to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's spot on as well. And it's, again, something that a lot of us, we have maybe do the first question.
Yeah.
And then we think we're ready. But it's, setting yourself up to stand out, making yourself unique. It's vital. And I think mentioned the other day that well, an old company I used to work for, they made every employee learn the articulation for the business. And then they brought us back in, they tested us. But it was genius because it was you then when you're at a pub, you're chatting to someone, it sort of flows and it feels, you're not just reciting words either, you're delivering something, you can sound passionate about it, you sound believable, it's credible. But then it inspires you to know what the business, you're proud then to talk about that business.
And that's a really valid point because that then taps into the land of branding and the importance of branding. And so that for a business that employs multiple people, especially if a lot of those people are front-facing with leads and clients, the brand needs to turn up and be the same experience for every single person. Your employees also experience your brand and your business, which is why the culture within a business is so important. But you want every touch point that you, that you can curate through your staff or through what you do in the world of marketing. You want everything to be consistent. And I should add also, I wanted to give you an example. So if we think about, the why, what do you sell? What problem do you solve? Why should I care? Right? I wanted to give an example. So do you know the brand Estee Lauder?
Yes.
Yeah. And so Estee Lauder sells makeup and in particular a lot of lipsticks.
Yeah.
Right. Famous for lipsticks. Right. So if I said to you, Jimmy, what does Estee Lauder sell?
Well, I would have just said products, but now you've got me, so I'm going to have to go deeper.
Yeah.
Dreams.
They could
Too
sell
much?
dreams.
Too deep?
Yeah. Estee Lauder will say they don't sell lipstick, they sell hope.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, why do women put lipstick on? Because we want to look great. And why do we want to look great? Well, because, we might, be out there looking for a husband.
Yeah.
We want to look nice. So selling hope. And so by sharing that example, it's really vital for businesses to think about those three questions. What do I sell? What problem does it solve? Why should I care? Because it will help them get to that emotive state, the big why. Why are they doing what they're doing? And what is that sort of emotional, high-level need or feeling that they're tapping into?
Also, from a content-making perspective as well, having that knowledge in a brief when we start making a video, it's having those emotive reasons to make that video. You then have a much stronger piece that people can connect with. So it's not just at the top level. It does then cascade through everything.
Absolutely.
Really. So
absolutely. And when you can sell through emotion, it's a much easier sell than just selling features and benefits. People buy into emotion and they buy into having a problem solved.
Yeah.
So yes.
Right. So let's talk then about what else we need to do as a bit of housekeeping, I guess, really for a business. Before you've got your articulation now. You know what you say, you know how to promote yourself. You know what to say. But how do you use that, and what do you do to set up, I guess?
Look, let's just say you've laid out your business goals and objectives. You understand your marketing strategy and the role of marketing in achieving those. You've got down to the level of, marketing plan and maybe thinking about some of the tactics, which is a place a lot of us jump to straight away because it's fun, right? It's fun. For a lot of businesses, when they're new, And sometimes when they've been around for a while, they still need to wind back to what I'm about to say here. It is about brand. Okay, so you know what it is you're selling. You now think, well, what does it look like? And brand is really important. And like I mentioned before, so is the consistency in how the brand turns up. And so before you start marketing outwardly facing to attract those eyeballs, you need to make sure that your brand is really robust. And what I mean by brand is I'm talking about some of the structural stuff, my brand logo. And there's one brand logo that's used everywhere, not multiple versions of the logo. And there are really strict, I suppose, parameters around how that logo can be used. It can't go on a black background. It can't go on a green background. It must go on a white background, whatever it might be. And also around font types, colors, etc. And it doesn't have to be a complicated piece of work, but it is really important piece of work, because then all the marketing materials you then create when you start getting to the pretty fun tactics are all going to look like they belong to the one family. Super duper important. Secondly, with branding, it's also around the brand's communication style, tone of voice. So if you think about your brand as a person, how would my brand talk? Is it friendly? Is it professional? Does it joke a lot? Like, is it a jester? Is it a trustworthy brand? And therefore, is it a professional brand? So I need to talk in a more stilted way. What is the way of communicating, and therefore also the tone of voice? So those, along with the, I suppose, the physical attributes of a brand around logo, colors, fonts, etc., all need to be defined. And a graphic designer can certainly help with something like that, but super duper important. Also, before you start doing your outwardly facing marketing, and you might have already done it as you were thinking about what you're going to sell, is understanding your competitors. So what are your competitors doing? What are they doing really well? What are they not doing so well? And what are the opportunities, that might be open to you, so for you to sort of change the way things are done, so that your product or your service is marketed and presented in a better way than the competition, right? Or your website has a better user experience than what the competitors are doing. So you need to think about those competitors as well. And then start thinking about the first place where a lot of people will go, a lot of your customers are going to hit your website. If you've got your branding sussed out, you've got your answers to your 3 questions of what do I sell, what problem do I solve, and why should my target audience care, which helps fuel the copy that would be on your website. Yeah. You've got a website that's created using a search engine SEO optimized style of copywriting with headings, paragraphs, etc., right? And you also are thinking about the user experience. So I said before that customers are more likely to buy when they can find you and then buy you. So if your website has a really awesome customer experience, you're more likely to nurture or convert the person who hits your site, right? So it's like setting up the 101, like that foundation of your house before you start telling everybody the front door's open and come over for a barbecue.
Yeah.
You've got to have the foundations there first. So branding, competitor research, super duper important.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And again, yeah, it's vital. A lot of people do get in the trap of, this is going back to the, done is better than imperfect. Yeah. Not always the case, because sometimes you can do something, and if it's bad, then it goes against what you're trying to achieve. So I think these are the key areas that you really need to spend a little bit of time and consideration on. And not always, these are areas I definitely recommend not doing yourself. I think when doing some marketing activities, potentially you could learn some things for online advertising. But if you're not a designer, you do need the help of a designer to really set your brand up.
To do it right. And I will also say this, many small businesses, when they start out, hit up some of those logo design platforms where you can, create a logo for $25, happy days. That creates further problems down the track. So if you're serious about your business and you want to trademark, you might find that what you just got delivered through one of those platforms is used somewhere else for another brand in Australia, or there's a brand that looks really similar.
Yeah.
You are always, in my view, better off to write a tight brief about what you're doing with your business, who you serve, what you sell, etc., and using a graphic designer to design a logo for you that is unique and bespoke and yours. So if you want to go and trademark it, you can feel certain that you will successfully be able to trademark it in the category that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And trademarking is important of a logo because you need to protect your brand and protect your business.
Yeah.
Because otherwise copycats will come in, create a logo that looks just like yours, and then you've got a problem.
Yeah. And I think one thing to add, maybe sort of when you're looking at all your research, you're looking at your competitors, also have some consideration of your audience. Again, with your briefs that we receive sometimes, we don't have a very tight definition on the audience. And, you could use a profile where you just look at, gender, age, location. You can kind of estimate some of these. Better to, have search channels where you can go and review if you've got a customer base. But if not, and you have a target that you're aiming at, be clear what that target is.
Well, and this is a really interesting one because as humans, we are innately lazy. I am too. If there's an easy way to do something, we're more likely to take the easy route. When it comes to understanding your target audience, most businesses I've spoken with don't even speak to any of them. And especially with an existing business, you've got the benefit of having had clients to go and talk with. And it is quite fascinating when you start digging down to find out who your target audience is and what motivates them at those deeper levels. What informs the choices that they make? What are some of their psychological biases? Because all of that can become a playback when you start working out your marketing messaging so that it highly resonates. So if I'm thinking, well, it's Sandra, she's 35, she has a dog and 1.5 kids and goes to Fiji, I'm going to try to make some marketing and I'm going to structure my messaging around Sandra. I could be completely off mark because I've actually just made Sandra up myself. I haven't bothered to chat with anyone because my audience might be different and there might be multiple audiences as well. So my biggest ask is to please go and speak with people who you want to market to, who you think are going to be the people who buy what you're selling. Really vital. And it's the gold. Marketing gold is waiting for you by doing that.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I think we're now in a position to roll up our sleeves and get going with the marketing. This is the exciting part for Sam. I thought what might be a nice way of looking at this is if we take 3 businesses and have a think about what marketing tools from that big, overwhelming list that we've got at our disposal in our toolkit, where we should start, maybe what we should consider. And we'll focus on, again, small businesses that maybe have sort of a limited budget. Why don't we start by looking at, say, a local service business? So how about if I was a tradie, if I was a tiler, looking for business, looking to promote myself, where do I begin there?
All right, so I'm just going to roll out a few quick ones here. So car decal, uniform, being found. So being business present on local directories, as well as Google. Google reviews, massive. That's huge. And also thinking outside of the box, what you could do through networking and meeting other complementary services. So Tyler might need a builder, might need a plumber. Having a network of like trades so you can all bump each other onto different jobs. That would be my start point for a Tyler. Yeah,
great. Like you said, if they're looking at similar businesses that may refer them, marketing to those businesses, or you can cross over a little bit into sales there. It might be almost a cold call. But there's definitely some really nice marketing activities you can do there to get going. And some of those you can definitely do yourself quite easily, quite cheaply.
Absolutely.
Some will be paid. SEO is free once you've got it set up. And it's adding to a website, getting over the test of time. You could look at online advertising potentially.
Exactly.
That can scare people off a little bit, but that's something you could learn yourself, or you can get an expert to help you with.
Yeah, and I think the paid advertising, so let's say pay per click on Google, and also investing in SEO, because you need a minimum of about $1,500 a month to do that, so that you can appear in a particular area if someone Googles Tyler near me. Those are really good spaces, but you might find you want to get a little bit of cadence first before you feel comfortable with investing in the higher spends around the 2 that I just mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. What would I do differently if I was, I run a small jewelry business, say, as a product? Yeah. What can I do now?
Okay, let's say you're a jewelry store. So the biggest, most amazing physicality you have is the store itself. Okay, so it's your window displays. It's how you show up. It's the experience of a shopper walking through the store. And when I say experience, if we think of the 5 senses, What are they seeing? What are they smelling? What are they touching? Right? So there's that part of it. Another would be online or physical brochures. You'd be involved with whatever's happening in the shopping centre in which your store is, but also online as well. So particularly campaignable ideas. So you might be doing a little bit of online advertising, say in the lead up to Valentine's Day or gifting season around Christmas, so that you are part of a consideration set when somebody is looking for a gift. Also thinking about what you're doing online on your website. Some people can't make it to your store and they'd like to buy online. So making sure that the website is easy to navigate. It's a smooth journey. It might be that you're offering a promo, so spend $200, get XYZ, free, or get a 5% discount off your next purchase or whatever.
Yeah.
These little incentives would help the jewelry store.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if we move into the land of, magazine write-ups or PR, etc., influencer marketing. Someone famous wears a piece of your jewelry from your store. That's going to be a popular one.
We're touching on that. Anyone you bring in to represent you, so sort of like employees, partners, sponsors, they represent your brand. So you're a trader, you're a tiler, you go onto site, the way you show up, the way you interact, that's marketing still.
Well, it is, and I will say one way to kill your brand or your business if you're a tradie is to turn up on a job with your dog that's not on a leash. And then the owner has a cat. You won't be getting any callbacks. So it's about being conscious about, especially if you're a male tradie and you're going to the home of an older female, being conscious about who you're there to serve and making sure that their experience of what you're doing there is nice, and then that you'll get callbacks.
Yeah. It's something that walking into a shop, I guess, if someone's on the phone, doesn't look up, doesn't say hello, it's a very different experience. And then I have negative connotations then that I apply to that brand, because negative thoughts, it doesn't give me a feel good.
Doesn't feel welcoming. No, you weren't acknowledged when you walked in, or the complete reverse. When you look inside a store and there's 3 bored sales assistants just staring at
ready
you,
to pounce,
and then you don't go in because you're too scared.
Yeah. Again, finding that sweet spot. I think.
Spot. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's look at online then. So, what if we're an e-commerce store? What might they do?
Yeah. Well, look, the number one point is the website. An e-commerce store will need a really sophisticated, smooth running website because it needs to do a lot of things. And so, if you think about how an online shopper will navigate what you sell, so you might want to, present your wares by category, and then by subcategory, and then different filters are applied. So you're making it really easy for a person to find what it is they might be looking for, or if they're browsing, you're making it really easy to find new ideas and inspire them for what they might need. So the website is number one.
Yeah.
And now in terms of promoting your online business, you do fall into the land of a little bit more expensive land. You do need to invest in pay-per-click. So whether that's Google ads or programmatic advertising or whatever it might be, you need to advertise online. It might also involve Facebook ads. You might dive into the land of, and I know we haven't discussed it, but the land of marketing sales funnels, where you have a shopper clicking on a Facebook ad that takes them to a landing page. Let's say, for example, where they watch a video about a product or a service, they might download something, or they might click through to, read about the features and benefits. And you leading them step by step to press the buy button, right? And another thought around that would be user-generated content. So if you are selling something online that's, hotcakes and you're selling it by the thousands, it might be a nice way to sell more by, running a promo or a competition where users can film themselves using or consuming your product that you then use as part of the way you advertise. And that can often be a really economical way to advertise your brand.
Yeah, I think, website, again, for sure is the key for this one, because it's, this is where you might not want to try and pull something together yourself and you need an expert.
Look, it's pretty easy to, let's say, to DIY a website, but there are a lot of inherent dangers. It's easy. There's so many platforms out there to do it. But my advice is if you want to DIY, great, because it is good to learn.
Yeah.
But then perhaps bring in the web designer when you've finished and ask them to polish it up for you. Because there are a lot of intricacies that you just won't realize when you're starting out. But a web designer will be able to fix stuff up for you. I did that with my first website because I wanted to understand.
Yeah.
It took me 6 weeks to do it. I was very slow. But I understood it after that, and then I used a web designer to polish it up. And yeah, she made a lot of amends, but it was really useful.
Yeah.
But the website is number one. It's around points of perception. So when someone is evaluating your brand, they're looking at the website.
Yeah.
They might be looking at your socials, right? And by that I mean they're looking at Insta or Facebook, or they might be looking at your LinkedIn feed. So all the points of perception and the way you then nurture a customer so that they press the buy button or they convert and buy your product, that is ultimately what you are doing. And the website plays a big role right at the top of that funnel.
Absolutely. It's huge now. And it's the way you house, everything. You've got your branding, you've got your identities there, you explain what you do, you've got your tone of voice. Content is huge. So if you're happy, you're confident in doing it, for sure, go out and do it. But always good to get a second pair of eyes to check it over.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jimmy, I want to use a quick analogy for you, a little story.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's imagine it's Saturday, right? And you've got all your mates coming over at midday for a barbecue at your place. Yeah? What would you and your missus be doing in the morning before your friends come over?
She'd be sleeping. I'd be cleaning, I think.
You'd be tidying the house. Yeah. And that is exactly my point. So before you start outwardly facing marketing and bringing the eyeballs to your brand, you need to have a tidy house.
Yeah.
Right? So all of the things we've been talking about today, our 101, our start points, all of that stuff is tidying the house. Right? And we've covered some tools you can use when you're ready to start doing outwardly facing marketing. But you've got to have the house tidy first. Yeah. Because if you're bringing those people in and they see an untidy house, trying to get them to come back might be a little bit difficult.
Cool. I love it. Some people listening are going to be inspired now. They're going to want to go out and do something. They're going to want to, look at their brand, explore. Is their website, check through that. Is there anything they can update or improve there? They may want to start marketing. They might want to look at LinkedIn ads. Where can they go from here? So if you have a small budget, you're a small business, you don't have a fortune to spend, you might be able to do some stuff yourself. What kind of resources are available?
Okay, loads. And the great news is that lots of it is free.
Even better.
Some of it is paid, but it's not that expensive. All right. So the first port of call for anyone starting out is YouTube. YouTube is the repository of the how-to. How to do marketing, how to do LinkedIn, how to do whatever. You'll find it on there. So hit up YouTube first. The second would be online learning platforms like Coursera. It's a paid platform, but you have access to all sorts of different courses, and a lot of them are certified as well. If you are a person who likes the face-to-face 8-week course sort of a thing, there is a local business in the Northern Beaches. I'm not paid by them, but I'm just saying they're called Basic Bananas. And they are really good at what they do for small businesses. So that's one to check out. Of course, podcasts galore. Just type in marketing or branding and all the podcasts will turn up. And, of course, you have your traditional learning institutions. And one I might shout out is RMIT, lots of 6-week marketing style courses on there. So the world is your oyster for free, or if you like to pay, it's all out there.
Yeah, you can do a lot yourself. I know recently we were looking at changes to our website, putting on some online ads, and flicking between YouTube or ChatGPT to ask how do you do this? Looking at the the LinkedIn platforms themselves that give information. So there is a lot there. Sometimes it's tricky in others, and you can spend it feels like a day to solve the simplest little thing. How do I get the contact form on my website to be yellow?
So true.
It won't be. So yeah, if you like, going that deep into finding code, it's kind of all there now. ChatGPT really helps as well to get that information to people. So you've got tools there to explore. But if you are struggling, bring in an expert, or start it yourself. Bring someone in. Any other words of wisdom or encouragement you want to give us before we close up?
Just get started. And just know that, like everything in life, you will have a learning curve. You will make mistakes. You will waste money. But at the end of the day, you will be smarter. You'll be more resilient, and you'll feel more free by being your own boss.
Really, really nice. I think it sort of loops back nicely to what we started with, that done is better than perfect, which was your version of that, which I think is better. Progress.
Progress is better than perfection.
Yeah. So it's make progress. I think little steps, don't get overwhelmed. There are resources out there you can help, but if you are looking to move your marketing forward, start by making progress. Everything has to change as well. So it's not once it's done, it's nice to do something and have it ticked off, but you might have to revisit that at some point and
that's it.
reevaluate
Constantly
and change.
evolves. And also as you learn and become a better business person, you look back and go, you know what, that doesn't serve me anymore. I need a more sophisticated website or whatever it might be. The other thing I wanted to add is when you're starting out, it's really easy to compare yourself to people who've been doing what you do for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? Which I'm guilty of and never made me feel good. So just remember, you are following your path and let others follow theirs. We all do things differently. We all start something at different times. It's all our own individual journey. So don't compare because it just won't make you feel good. Just follow your path and be good at it.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure chatting. Thanks for coming on.
It's been awesome.
If anyone wants to connect with you down the track, how do they get hold of you?
Well, the easiest way to get hold of me is LinkedIn. So if you search for Amanda Beale, Beale, you'll find a short blonde-haired person in a red top holding 2 giant pencils. That would be me.
There you go.
By all means, shoot me a message. I'm always happy to chat.
Perfect. Cool. And then any questions, drop us a comment. We'll do our best to get back on those. Otherwise, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've got something valuable from today's session and hopefully see you in the next one.